Vengeance of the Moon Knight, issue number 5. That's right, folks. A lot going on in this issue, but most notably, we're doing a tie-in to Bloodhunt. We are in the season of the Bloodhunt, folks, and there are like 40 plus tie-ins, and God forbid if I read any of them aside from this book. I'm making it official right here. We're not covering Bloodhunt. I can't do it. I read the first issue before this, and I'm like, yeah, I probably should have read this one before that. I even think Jed McKay said so on Twitter, like, you should read this before the other one. I'm like, yeah, Jed, I like you. I think you're great. I feel like Bloodhunt is a fun idea. I will read the main book, maybe, but I cannot do the tie-ins, man. This is too much, and it's crazy. And this issue, for the most part, isn't a tie-in until it becomes a tie-in. And isn't that just the worst type of tie-in, where suddenly it's a tie-in? Ugh. Every issue so far, we've been following somebody talking to Dr. Sternum. This time around, it's 8-Ball. And you're like, hey, yeah, 8-Ball. He's been kind of forgotten in this current arc going on. Let's see what he's up to. So he feels kind of nervous sitting in the Midnight Mission, sitting in like the Mr. Knight chair, just kind of like off that this isn't where he should be. And then we intercut that with Badir and Greer as they are fighting the Shroud. We revealed in the last issue that it was indeed the Shroud who has taken up the mantle of Moon Knight. And we'll go through the stuff going on with 8-Ball and the Shroud here. It is interesting. I think there's a cool idea that is in play that is kind of like the crux of the whole book McKay has been working on, which is about redemption and about putting in the work to redeem yourself. I feel like that's been the case for every major character we've seen so far. That was Mark, that was Greer, that's been Badir and Soldier and Reese and 8-Ball now to some extent, and the Shroud showing up kind of contradicts that. It's very interesting. So Tiger's like, dude, we worked together on the West Coast Avengers. Why are you doing this? He's like, well, things change. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I know I have to do it. That kind of thing. And we cut that with 8-Ball just being like, I don't know. It's crazy. Everything's weird and going on, and I don't know. I'm just some schmuck, some loser who's just like caught up in this. But I did save Moon Knight that one time, so that's cool. And if Moon Knight can change, so can I. The Shroud was a failure. He was a failure. Nothing good ever came from him. No one understood him. But Moon Knight would have understood me. Moon Knight would have understood everything about me. And he like blows up the building they're inside of, so Greer and Badir start to like fall through and everything. And 8-Ball is just explaining like everybody in the supervillain community, we all knew who were the ones you had to be afraid of. Moon Knight was at the top of that list. We all knew what he did to Bushman. We're all aware of like what he was capable of. Like, just short of the Punisher, Moon Knight was the scary one. But at the very least, like, Punisher would just shoot you. And Mark was, like, this messed up guy. Like I never really understood it until I was locked in, like, the Meridian with him during Devil's Reign. And I started to figure out, like, who he was. Like, he was this chained-up big dog, this, like, feral thing. Which is how we've described him a few times now. That's how Greer described him, too, as, like, this dog. And it's kind of interesting. He was like this thing that needed to be tamed or controlled or just, put down to some extent. But he kind of learned to calm himself and fix everything he did. And if Moon Knight could do that, why can't 8-Ball do that? Maybe that's what I should try to do. Be better. Because he could. And if he could, a guy that cut off a man's face could be better. I could. What do I have to lose? So we take back to the streets where Badir and Greer are just like gaining their traction, but the Shroud has kind of gone like fully vampiric Bloodhunt tie-in. He looks like a scary demon. Now, I don't know too much about the Shroud. I'm pretty sure he's just like a parody of the Shadow. So him doing like this, where he looks like he's got big wings spewing out from his like weird violet energy, it's scary and kind of crazy. But it's interesting. I do appreciate it. I don't know. It's kind of fun. And we realized that actually 8-Ball is talking to Sternum while the events of Bloodhunt are taking place. Like, it's happening outside the door and the Midnight Mission will protect them. But he thinks he should join the fight just because that's what he needs to do to be better. And then let's just listen to the Shroud scream a bit about like what he's been through. We were friends. I can't be the Shroud anymore because the Shroud is crazy and he is dangerous. And Moon Knight had been that too, but now people love him. They trust him. They respect him. He's better. Greer's like, are you kidding me? That's it? That's it? He worked for that, man. You can't just put on his clothes and suddenly people are going to love you. We worked hard to build this. He worked hard to change himself, and you think you could just like wear his clothes, become him, and suddenly that's going to help every single problem you ever had? You don't understand. There's this woman that I loved, and she can't look at me. She hates me. You don't understand. He's like, no, Mark understands, though, and he loved this woman named Marlene, and they had a kid. And he lost them both because of the things he did, but he also didn't just, like, become Daredevil and then beat the shit out of people. He put in the work to change. And you're like, what? What? Are you kidding me? The Shroud, you just did something so crazy and reckless that now you learned a lesson? You can't just blindly put on a guy's clothes. Okay, Greer's just pissed off. Like, he put in the work. You're just a coward who's trying to run from his bullshit, you fucking loser. You're not doing good. You're not helping anybody. You worked with the Avengers. Well, Moon Knight fought the Avengers, and it messed up his brain because his god took over. But he died a hero, and he helped people. What you're doing, you're none of those things. You're not even, like, helping the legacy or changing the name of Moon Knight. You're just being a problem. And then he, like, kind of depowers because he learns his lesson. And I get it. I get it. It's a Bloodhunt tie-in. He's got weird power connected to vampire or the sun or something. I just, really, it seems so kind of like, well, okay. You know, where the lesson the Shroud learns is, oh, you actually have to work for something. Yeah, that's been the theme of this book. Now that you're in it, you're going to learn that lesson too, buddy. What did he think happened that suddenly everyone just liked Moon Knight? That suddenly he was, like, revered? That's a very weird thing. But this guy is kind of an idiot, so I guess that's okay. So he calms down. Greer helps him, like, we're going to get you back on your feet, buddy. You just wanted to be a hero. We'll help you. Come on, let's get you out of here. And then literally, like, as they start to walk away, as the fight's over, a Bloodhunt thing happens, and the Shroud, like, turns into, like, a giant black tornado. This isn't what's responsible for, like, the sun dying or whatever. I don't know. But I know they refer to this in Bloodhunt. So, there you go. So this part of the story will continue in Bloodhunt. If you want to read Bloodhunt, you can. But the book isn't over, because we see 8-Ball's like, look, Doc, I've been through a lot of shit, and I know kind of like my place, and I should feel safe here, but, you know, I don't really feel safe. But just let me know, was Moon Knight ever afraid? He was all the time, 8-Ball. And it never stopped him from doing what needed to be done. He's like, okay, sounds good. Soldier walks in, he's like, all right, dude, I got the swords. They're like, oh, 8-Ball, you're going to join us in the fight. He's like, I don't really want to, but, you know, I think I'm going to. I'm going to call my shot. 8-Ball quarter pocket. So we see Reese and Soldier and 8-Ball run into the fray of vampires, and they're going to kill some people. Awesome. Isn't it cool that we're going to see 8-Ball survive the events of Bloodhunt, but probably not main characters? Isn't that awesome? Like, that's just the power of a good character doing something good in a spin-off book. Like, he's got a fucking pool cue. He's going to beat up some vampires with it. That's cool. I don't particularly, like, love the stuff going on with, you know, the Shroud is suddenly this thing or whatever. But I guess it's fine. You know, you kind of had to do that. It does feel kind of, like, cheap that he shows up in this issue. Is like, I just want to be better. And you're like, you've been a hero. But also the book calls out that nobody really remembers what the Shroud's been up to. Like, Sternum's like, I try to keep track of these things, but I think he was like the kingpin of LA or something. I don't know. He's kind of crazy, but fine. You know, no one's going to care that the Shroud's doing something different. I think it's just kind of a little cheapened that suddenly, like, as soon as Greer's like, he worked to change, you dumbass. He's like, what? You mean I have to put the time in to be a better person? I can't just adopt a new persona of my friend? Yeah. No shit. It's kind of obvious, but I'm not against it. And a Bloodhunt's happening now, so there you go. I really don't know where this book's going to go if we even make it out of Bloodhunt. I could see this ending with Bloodhunt. I don't know, but whatever. I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. It's been really interesting to see where we've been going. I kind of appreciate it for that. And maybe Max is going to become the Moon Knight for a bit now, and Mark will return later. Maybe he'll return as the Shroud, and the Shroud will be like cloaked in white, and everyone's like, oh, that's Mark, obviously. That'd be kind of funny. Maybe. So, Vengeance of the Moon Knight, issue number 5, I am going to give a 7 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck, and happy Bloodhunt reading. I'm sure it'll be great.